यस्मिन् द्यौ पृथिवी चान्तरिक्षमोत्तं मनः सह प्राणैश्च सर्वैः तमेवैकं जानथ आत्मानम् अन्या वाचो विमुञ्चतामृतस्यैष सेतुः। यस्मिन् द्यौ पृथिवी चान्तरिक्षमोत्तं मनः सह प्राणैश्च सर्वैः तमेवैकं जानथ आत्मानम् अन्या वाचो विमुञ्चतामृतस्यैष सेतुः। He in whom the heaven, dhyau, prithvi, antariksham, the heaven, earth, and interspace are sewn together with the mind and all pranas, which is the vital air. Know him alone as the one self. Vimunchata anyavacha. Desist from other talk. Vimunchata anyavacha. Vimunchata means desist. Anyavacha means other talk, means unnecessary talk, means anything other than the self is unnecessary. This is the bridge to the shore of immortality. Setuhu. Setu is the bridge. Amritasya. This is the bridge to the shore of immortality. Now, when he says this is the bridge, obviously he's referring to the third and the fourth mantra, where he spoke about the metaphor of the bow and the arrow. So here he says the macrocosm, by saying the heaven, earth, and interspace, he covers the entire macrocosm. The macrocosm is the totality around. By saying the mind and all its pranas, he covers the microcosm. The macrocosm and the microcosm are sewn together, are stitched together, are bound together. Autam. Autam means sewn, means the macrocosm, which is everything around you, is the totality. The microcosm is the individual, which constitutes of the pranas and the mind. So the macrocosm and the microcosm are sewn together. What is that which binds us together? It is the one Brahman. It is the one common factor, which is the substratum in the macrocosm and the microcosm. There is nothing else than Brahman. Know him alone as the one self. The world that you are experiencing, the world that I am experiencing, is nothing but a mere imposition on Brahman. See, you will appreciate how helpless they are but to talk of Brahman. They are helpless. This is, in fact, justifies the experience of men of realization. Their experience is so firmly established in Brahman that they do not see anything other than Brahman. And if you talk anything other than Brahman, he says, why are you talking anything other than it? Nothing else exists other than Brahman. Therefore, he says, desist from any other thought. Desist from any other talk. He deplores the state of humanity where they are preoccupied with the thoughts of the world. From morning to night, something in the world consumes you, whether be it the good happening or the bad happening, whether be it something pleasant or something unpleasant. All the time you're caught up in the world. The only time perhaps you're thinking other than the world is when you entertain thoughts of Brahman. So he's saying desist from any other talk. The only way you can occupy your mind can occupy the thought of the self is when you get rid of your preoccupation. Your mind is preoccupied with the world. So therefore, one of the essential qualities, in fact, which also gets very pronounced as you spiritually progress, is the same. One of the essential qualities to practice spirituality, and as you evolve also it gets intensified. So the quality is the path and the quality is the goal. I hope you get what I'm saying. Many a time the path and the goal are one and the same. So what I try to practice, the path I adopt, and the destination or the goal I reach are one and the same. So the quality here in the context I'm talking about is mental withdrawal from the world. There is a certain amount of disinterest in the world. Now that disinterest can come either through experience, or I have seen it, I know what it is, therefore I am not interested in it, or because of your maturity of higher pursuits, you don't have the experience, but you have the vairagya. You have the vairagya that you have drawn through knowledge, the dispassion that you have drawn through establishment in higher pursuit. You are not interested in it. There is no, the world doesn't draw you to it. It is very much there, but you have a certain amount of no thank you in attitude. So the student here is being told, the guru is saying, get away from your preoccupation with the world. Not easy. While you're being occupied performing your duties and responsibilities, please, we should never misunderstand. When they say get away from the preoccupation with the world, does not mean it is abandoning your duties. Abandoning duties is tamas. Getting involved and attached to the duties is rajas. But while I'm performing my duties and responsibilities, duty and responsibility is defined by what? What defines my duties and responsibilities? Are my own duties and responsibilities not determined by my past choices? I have made a certain choice. Now I can't escape them. The duties are consequences of my choices, aren't they? When you have made a choice, don't you have to abide by the choices and the consequences, the duties I'm bound to? Like I made a choice, I will teach this Upanishad. Thereafter, I like it or not, I am bound once a week at this hour to come and teach this text. So it is not getting away from the world doesn't mean abandoning. So people have misunderstood this text. So they are afraid of Vedanta because they believe it takes you away from your near and dear, from your belongings and your possessions, from your work and your life. They believe it takes away that which is most valuable to you. No, the Vedanta doesn't take away anything that's most valuable to you. In fact, it is giving something which you are missing in life, which is the most valuable. I'll not get into that. But when he says don't get away from the preoccupation in the world, it does not mean tamas. It's not abandoning duties. Rajas is when you perform your duties and you get carried away with rajas. Now, sattva is to maintain an attitude of what is it? an attitude of while you are doing, while you are performing, while you are associating, what should be your attitude? You are at your work, you are with your family, you're doing what you need to do. But while you're doing, what should be the attitude? That determines sattva. That is what he's saying, your preoccupation. Harish, you're following me? So what does it mean? While you're performing your duties, you must give up your preoccupation, sattva. So what is it that you must, what must be your attitude?
You must be, you're there, but you are mentally withdrawn from that association where you are not attached or looking for the fruits of the action or labor. You're just doing. You're not expecting anything from it.
You are renounced to the fruits of action. You're not expecting anything out of it. But how is it possible while you're performing to be mentally remain disinterested?
I mean, it's like you're interested when you're there.
Indeed, it is being disinterested interest. But where does one get that strength of being disinterested yet you're interested? Interested understood because you have an obligation. You have an interest in your family's welfare because you have an obligation. You have an interest to run your business because you have an obligation, right? But while you run the family, it has its own dynamics. While you run your business, it has its own challenges of profit and loss and market and politics and all the financial and the market fluctuations. You got to deal with it. It comes with a whole lot of challenges to deal with. How to remain disinterested? From where do you get that strength of being disinterested?
Because at the end of it, when you are aspiring to a higher goal towards yourself, one understands that this is all, it's all an illusion at the end of the day. So on that spirit, we knowing it's an illusion, the world is a drama of play, and we are ultimately seeking the higher goal towards the self. Hence, we are able to cultivate this attitude.
So the capacity to inject that attitude of being disinterested comes in how interested you are with the higher. Absolutely right, Harish. To the extent you are interested in the higher self, the higher values, the highest wisdom, and the highest wisdom that we can have is to say that the whole thing has no substance.
I remember Guruji was saying quite some months ago that I've trying to practice is that when we watch the world at play in its own drama, we have to keep telling ourselves, I have nothing to do with it. I'm just a witness. That's all I am. I step out and just be a witness to the world events. So when you say I have nothing to do with it, that is one of the cornerstone thoughts that I have every time when I feel I'm being pushed inside the world into the whole arena. I keep reminding myself to step out and just be a witness to it.
That's the silver lining, isn't it?
Yes.
The real protector, if I were to say, is to inject that attitude of, It's like an anti-measure. If a vehicle is speeding, the only way is control is through brakes. No? It works the reverse process to withdraw, to pull you back. So the only way, if I were to tell myself silently, don't say that loudly, huh? Silently you tell yourself, I have got nothing to do with it, because it will be misconstrued.
Yes.
It will be perceived that this fellow has no interest. This fellow has no love or feelings. This fellow is like a piece of wood or stone. No, no, not that. It's misconstrued. So tamas always is projected to be what these people are saying. So initially you will remain performing your duties, and as you grow higher, what happens is you first renounce the fruits of action. First comes tyaga. In fact, this element is actually captured in the book. There was a question asked, and in that we clarified. Am I not right, Gayatri Ma? First, we said there is tyaga. So as you first initial stages of your journey, you keep practicing tyaga. And what is tyaga? Tyaga is to renounce the fruits of your action. So I am performing action now. I might be interested. What do you people think? What is your opinion? Provided now you're all, I know you all for a long time. So I'm not, there's no anxiety as to what your feedback is. But if there's somebody new comes, or if I'm giving a new talk, a new presentation, I would be interested. Or there could be anxiety. What are they? What is the feedback? What do they think about my presentation? Imagine, example. So there is anxiety to the fruits of your karma. A book is going to come out. What will people say? I could have anxiety about it. What will people think, good or bad? So far, no anxiety. Huh? Maybe it releases after that, there might be a little anxiety. US, please give positive comments. Huh? Don't break my heart. Okay.
Sure, Guruji.
Thank you, Ma. I'm a little more comfortable now. So Tyaga is to renounce the fruits of your action, the fruits of your labor. Every action you perform, not choosing to act also is an action. It has some karma phala. Whatever you do or do not do has a karma phala. So to be disinterested in the fruits of action and continuing to perform action is the path adopted by those who are spiritual beginners. But as those who advance spiritually, they reach a state where they renounce the desire in action itself. To renounce the desire in action is known as sannyasa. So tyaga is renouncing the fruits of action, means I am acting with a desire, but I'm renouncing the desire, the fruits of those desire prompted actions. Understood? Tyaga, you act on the desire, but what I'm doing unnecessarily, I'm not worrying of the fruits. Okay, I had a desire for something, I have done it. Now, why should I worry of the fruits? Dekhenge, pakla, chudam, what will come out of it? That is tyaga. So you need to know where you are. So this detachment or withdrawing yourself from the world or the preoccupation with the world can be practiced in two stages, tyaga or sannyasa. So withdrawal from the world, sattva is, are you at the level of practicing tyaga, which is renouncing the fruits of your action? Or you renounce the very desire-ridden action itself? Aparagaru, I hope you are following the thoughts, sir.
Yes, Guruji.
Right. Can you quickly recap what is Tyaga and what is Sannyasa before I want to clarify something with you.
Yeah. Tyaga is performing the action at the same time, renouncing the results of the action is Tyaga. And Sannyasa is basically abandoning the action itself over a period of time, overcoming your desires and all, completely abandoning the action. That is, you overcome all the requirements to act upon something and abandoning them.
So you abandon desire-ridden action.
Yes.
So any action that is prompted by kamaha is no more. You may be acting.
Yeah.
You may be very dynamic. Like for
Dynamic.
example, you may be traveling the world, but you have no desire to travel.
Yeah, Guru.
Just to justify that statement. It doesn't mean a sannyasa is someone who will wear an ochre robe and get himself parked in a point where he's not doing anything. No, you may be in action, but there is no desire to prompt.
Yeah. So I heard somewhere there are two types of karyas, actions. One is swakarya and swamikarya. Swamikarya is something what we are trying to understand, the true nature, true God, or whatever it is. And so whenever you do the swakarya also with swamikarya in your mind, over a period of time, the swakarya gets into a swamikarya only. It grows.
Right. Now, just for the benefit of those who don't understand this term, swakarya, karya is action. Swa means selfish actions. Swamikarya is referring to actions done for the higher goal or the highest being self-realization. Swamikarya is just a nice way of qualifying karya, the work. Now, what I would want to ask you is, which is easier to perform, Tyaga or Sannyasa? I know, I've heard VAP answering from side. What VAP? Hari Om.
Hari Om, Guruji.
Me cheppandi, answer cheppandi.
No, the question was for Venkat, so let him answer.
So, well, she said the sannyasa, but in my opinion, Tyaga, the thing is, you have a satisfaction of performing an action when you are doing Tyaga. It's not that you are abandoning something, you're abandoning your family or you're abandoning your swadharma. That's the reason, you will not feel guilty when you are performing a karya with the attitude of Tyaga Buddhi. And sannyasa is basically you overcome all the things. It's a higher stage of, performing the action. So for me, Tyaga is I think that it is more easier for me because I am not running away from things. At the same time, I'm performing, but with an attitude of, gratitude, then detachment. All these things are included when you're performing this.
Okay. All right. So both of you can have a debate over breakfast, whether sannyasa is. So don't be more forceful, then you will be deprived of breakfast. Huh? Just make your point and be detached to that point. Be little detached to your point.
Especially
in your own favor, sir.
Especially when the wife is beside you.
Absolutely. No, that's right. She is the source of your annam, sir. So please be
Annapurna.
Right. Okay, sir. Lakshmi Ma, obviously, yes, you are right when you say it is difficult, not easy to practice, because it's sattva to be able to practice this level of detachment. If you're not in that state of sattva, you're rajas. Rajas is where you develop an unnecessary anxiety for the fruit, which is not in your hand, isn't it? So
Yes.
Indeed, it is difficult to practice, but the spiritual journey starts with Tyaga. If you are not able to practice Tyaga, who are you? What are you? If you're not able to practice the renouncing the fruits of your action, who are you? What are you? What would you become?
Zombie.
Huh?
I said zombie, just going about doing without thinking.
Spiritual zombie.
Yeah, you can say that. No, I guess Apanan Raoji is right. Tyaga is more feasible. It depends on your level of development too, Guruji, right? Which stage you are in. Tyaga is more attainable at this stage, I think.
No, it is to present the path of evolution. So when they say desist from any other talk, we are talking about withdrawing yourself from the world. How much can you take the world out of you? The more I am worrying, if I worry over something, I am making a mountain of a peanut. So the world that I'm experiencing becomes an extraordinary burden, If I'm worrying about it, if I don't worry about it, there can be a problem in my life. But if I do not worry about it, if I am not concerned of the outcome, how does it matter? But even if there is no problem and I create a problem without a problem, some people are extraordinarily talented to create a problem where there's no problem. Imaginary. They're stalwarts. We can give an award to them. You create issues where there are no issues and you start worrying about it. In fact, there are people who worry, why am I not worrying? Why am I so peaceful? Why am I so calm? I should start worrying about something. So not worrying is a worry for them. They are extraordinary specimens out there.
Apparently, scientifically, it's been proven that our mind wants to be fed with these worries to stay alive. It's called victim peptides. And if you give in, you'll be consumed by it. That's something I read. I just wanted to share.
But it is a very unhealthy state. So mind which is consumed with anxieties and worries is in a restless state. It is not its natural state. We experience at times, even if there's the minutest of dust particle, if it goes into the eye, instantly its providence has provided it some miracle, how it's designed it. Instantly the eye starts watering, attempting to flush it out of your system. So there is an autoimmune process that's kicked in to flush out that extraneous particle, which is not a part of you. Because if you house it, it causes great discomfort. Exactly the same way, any anxiety, any worry, in fact, any thought for that matter, is not a part of you. So you must try to get it out, flush it out of your mind, cleanse your mind. And how do you cleanse it? The first step is try to practice Tyaga, try to practice renouncing the fruits of your labor. Then comes to a point, the desire itself drops. But what remains is action remains. You continue to perform action based on your obligation, but there is no desire attached to it. There is no anxiety. First, there is no anxiety. Second, there is no desire. So I may do something without having a desire to do it. Is that not possible? To that extent, actions are becoming selfless actions. Remember, actions are three types: selfish, unselfish and selfless. In both selfish and unselfish, there is the blemish of desire. But moment your actions become selfless in nature, there is that bondage or that stigma of desire is absent. That's when you go into the realms of sannyasa. A very beautiful way of evaluating yourself. Where am I? What kind of actions I'm performing? Yes, US.
No, Guruji, I think you have answered. Like you say, is it necessary that when we act without a fruit in mind, any action, is it necessary that our desires drop, becomes less? Without a fruit, we do act, but without any fruit in our mind. So as we keep on doing, does our desires drop?
Absolutely. As I said, Tyaga leads you to sannyasa.
Yeah, that's right. So I got it.
First action begins for the fruit, with an anxiety
But we
for
have-
the fruit.
But we have already been practicing action without accepting the fruits, but then the desire-ridden action. So the desires already becomes less, and then you say advance to desire-ridden action. So renounce the desire-ridden.
Okay. Now, let me build the thought. Tyaga is to renounce the fruit of action.
Yes.
What is the opposite of that?
We're acting with the fruit in mind. That
Extreme
we
is to have a feverish anxiety where there is a vega. Vega means, we say it's a Sanskrit word. Vega means there's a force. So there is an uncontrollable force of thought. We're talking of thought force here, where there's an anxiety. There is an attachment to the fruit. There is an interest in the fruit. Even before the fruit comes, there is longing, craving. That is the opposite of Tyaga. So a person begins his journey with a longing and craving for the fruit. That is the beginning stage. We all have gone through the stage. In fact, we are at that stage with reference to certain desires, don't we? It's not that all your desires, you reach a state of Tyaga or sannyasa, or you are at the beginning stage. Certain desires of yours, which are more powerful, the attachment is greater, you're not able to practice even Tyaga there. In certain areas, you have renounced. You have reached a state of sannyasa, means something which you had tremendous value, you have no value for. You've reached, you've crossed that. It's all childish. You've grown above it. Right? So to march from where you have a longing and anxiety for the fruit, you start practicing. You drop the anxiety for the fruit. So what is happening? That if you practice this in a measured, I'm making measured because it has to be, there's no standard formula for you and me or everybody. It is subjective to your capacity. If you practice it with reference to your capacity, I'll give an example. I think Setuji, it was, if I'm not wrong, a good 3-4 years ago, when there was a thought that they should get me to visit US for lecture tour. 3 years ago, this thought came up amongst the committee. People, they said we should go there. Then we have already established a wisdom foundation, and a body is there. It's registered and all that is there legally. It's a body as per the US rules. There's been discussion of wanting me to get there for lectures. Then comes COVID. Then comes reigniting the thought of let's do something. It starts with visa. and you apply the visa, waiting period is 24 months. I've never wanted to travel, nor there was a need for me to travel. So I've never applied for a visa in my life. Imagine a thought is there, not is there, it's planted, and is 4 years. Nothing has happened. How should I relate to that thought? I could be unnecessarily feeding that thought, wanting to go, desire to go, to do, for not for selfish purpose, for the cause. You unnecessarily keep feeding a thought which you may not have. The world plants into you, and then you make it a mountain of it. Or you can just say, let it happen when it has to happen. What do I need to do? Whatever I have to do. Apply for the visa. Whatever has to be done, you do it. If whenever it happens, it happens. That is not being tamas. You start. If there is a desire, I never had a desire, nor do I have a desire. Rest of my life, I can go n number of times, but I have no desire to travel. I have no desire. My desire to travel has never been there. But my travel has always been work related. You know how long I've lived there, how long I've been traveling there in that part of the world. I've never had that. So I can say that a particular desire, how do I relate to that particular desire? So it's subjective with each desires you have. Am I longing for it, or have I renounced the fruit of it, or have I renounced the desire itself? But if it has to be done, it will be done. You get it? So as you progress, what's happening, the intensity of the desire, to be precise to the question, the intensity of the desire keeps fading away. Because why is the intensity of the desire fading away? Because you are not feeding the desire. What feeds the desire is, what is fuel to the desire is the longing, is the anxiety, is the lingering, is the craving. Every now and then when you keep longing and craving and wishing and throbbing, that thought process keeps feeding to your desires. That intensifies the flame. But when you stop feeding fuel to the fire, stop feeding that thought process of indulging, lingering, and craving, what would happen? The desire doesn't get strengthened, obviously, but as you're practicing tyaga, the desire gets weakened. And with a period of time, the desire itself will drop off. It's like the plant or the garden you have in your yard. If it is being fed with water and mineral and resources, whatever it needs for its survival, it will flourish. If you stop giving it, you stop feeding it with water, don't give it the essential nutrients or minerals it needs, it will start dying away. A point will come, it is dead. There's no food. How will it survive? So tyaga is to stop feeding your desires. Sannyasa is to get rid of your desires. So tyaga leads you to sannyasa. But at any stage of this journey, you should never get frustrated. If you're frustrated, means you're overstepping. There has to be that effort where there's a tussle between the head and the heart. There is a tussle. The intellect is coming and...
What do you
Sorry?
mean by frustrating? What do you mean by frustrating?
Example, I say, let's say if you have a desire to travel the world, and I say, practice sannyasa, which is don't travel the world, drop the desire to travel the world. Would it be comfort? I'm not being personal here, but let's say if you have the desire to travel the world and you have the resources, time, everything is available. I say, sit and do swadhyaya at home. Every time you sit at swadhyaya, you will curse me. I'm sitting here because my guru says so, and I'm frustrated. I want to see the world. Look at that offer. Every now and then you are seeing a cruise package. You are seeing summer package of Europe, winter package of this. Oh, I want to see Japan, and I want, what a beautiful thing, and I'm not able to go. You're frustrating yourself because you're not able to fulfill the desire. So that's why I'm saying you got to measure this application. It is effort involved, but it is not to a point where it ruptures you within. There has to be that little struggle. Without the struggle, there is no growth, isn't it? But it has to be that healthy struggle. It has to be that healthy growth. You get that? So as you practice Tyaga, intensify Tyaga, you get to sannyasa, the desire, the strength of your desire keeps dropping. A point comes where there's no desire at all. Action continues. Thereafter, you'll act on duty. If I'm bound to do it, I'll do it. Otherwise, there is no interest in it. From a state of complete interest, you reach a state of disinterest. Okay. Yes, your name reads as Shashi, so I don't know whether it's the right name. Any difficulty? Try now, please. I'm afraid we are not able to. Okay. Sorry, Ma, if you have anything to say, please use the chat box. I can clarify. Okay. Sorry for that. Yes, Harish. Post your comments, Ma. I'll get to it.
Really, I just wanted to share something. When you mentioned a while ago, there are people who start a problem when there is no problem. So they create dramas from nothing. There's a terminology for these people, Guruji. They're called crazy makers. So we will always have crazy makers in our lives, try and create problems and disruptions. But we have to keep pushing them out of the flow. But they're called crazy makers. Just wanted to share that with you. They create something out of nothing.
Oh, when did this terminology arise?
No, I've heard of it. I've heard this terminology in my life experience through my channel. So I just thought we have a lot of crazy makers coming in our lives all the time, or in the past, more in the past. But as we evolve, I think the crazy makers start to drop off. I just wanted to share this terminology with you in the class.
I take note of it. Right. So thank you. Yeah, Situji.
Hari Om Guruji.
Yes.
One benefit of not longing, chasing desire is surprisingly over a period, the desires get fulfilled also. Because there is no anxiety, with time, everything I have seen in life, with time, everything gets solved. We unnecessarily worry and this thing. So we have to put effort and keep quiet and don't long or strive for it. But things do happen.
So in order to do this,
With that motive, we should not have that motive, but it does happen. Things get fulfilled, because in life everything happens when you deserve, and it does happen.
So in order to get away from the force of desire, you have to surrender to a higher force.
Yeah, believe in
the totality. As Aparagara said, you operate with the spirit of gratitude. You surrender, as Harish also said, you have to have a higher purpose. So when your attention, you have to have something to hold on to. Am I holding on to my desires, or am I holding on to a greater purpose or a higher cause? So when I make that paradigm shift in the purpose of my life, that's when you realize you are quite contented in your life, and you also accept that life gives you in
Even
mysterious ways and means.
you chase, sometimes it doesn't happen at all. When you-
Not sometimes, sir, every time. Whenever you chase, I only correction to that is, whenever you chase anything in life, it goes away from you.
It's a
As
law.
somebody, it's a law of life. Absolutely, it's a law of life. As somebody described beautifully, a person was chasing to catch the shadow of his head. He started walking brisk pace. He thought the faster he walks, the faster he runs, he'll catch the shadow of his head. But he realized the faster he ran, the shadow ran as faster than him. And some wise soul saw a man running recklessly. He asked, "What are you running? Like a chicken without a head. What are you trying to get to?" He said, "I'm trying to catch the shadow of my head." He said, "First, Shanti, stand here. And the only way you will catch the shadow of your head there is by putting your hand on your head here." The moment he put his hand on his head, he caught the shadow there. So you will realize that there is no satiation, there is no happiness in running outward. And that realization, the moment it dawns, you know, I will have to deal with my desires, but you will not bank on your desires. You will not bank on them for your happiness. You know that happiness is within you. How many of us have convinced with that? Amitama, are you convinced to the core that there is no happiness outside?
Hari Om,
All-
Guruji.
Yes, ma.
Absolutely, sir.
Hmm.
Thanks to your training and this knowledge.
Pounding,
It is all
repeated
within.
pounding.
Yeah. Yes. It's never found in the external. Yes.
It's
Thank
never.
you.
So it is no joy is there in the external world, nor anything external can cause you sorrow. So it's all in my own head.
Guruji, can I now? I could
glad.
unmute myself.
Wonderful, wonderful.
I was not even able to send a message, so I just came inside. Probably that is the reason. Yes, my name is Shashi.
Great. Okay.
It's not
Yes,
a wrong name. Yeah. So
yes.
I wanted to ask if dropping desire means, I mean, desire is something like a goal in our life, an objective towards which we do something. Is it the same? Is it equivalent to that? Or
See, in the Shastras, desire, when they say desire in Sanskrit, it's called kamaha. Kama or desire always has a selfish or an egoistic connotation. So when you do something for your own self or your own well-being, it's called desire. But when they say you have a purpose or a goal or a vision or a mission or an aim or an ambition, it involves a larger interest. The desire loses its selfish stigma and starts acquiring an unselfish flavor. Means it's more sacrificial. When you're selfish, you're not concerned of anybody. In my life, I only want of my own interest, my own emotions, what I think is right, what my needs are. You always think from your perspective. You don't think of a larger interest. But when you're unselfish, you're always sacrificing yourself for a cause.
Yeah.
Like a mother always thinks in the interest of the family or the child or the well-being of others, never thinks of her own. When you cook, Shashima, when you cook for the family, let's say you have your extended family joining you, you invited them. When you prepare a dish and you serve the family, do you keep a portion for yourself in the kitchen? You hide it somewhere for yourself?
No.
You don't think that way. Even if it means what is prepared and the family has enjoyed, that's all that matters to you.
That's
Even if
all.
it means you have a glass of juice or milk and you say, I'm fine with it. Why? You find joy in the happiness of your family. It's unselfishness. So the connotation is that.
Yeah, so something like it can be construed as desire or the other thing. Something like, I want to see most of the temples in India. This is is it a desire or an objective? Yeah, I'll turn it.
Okay,
So-
desire to see all the temples.
Temples, yeah.
Now, for what you want to see?
That is what, that is to enhance my understanding of our culture or our heritage. It's not like just for tourism purpose. I mean, just for bucket list. It's not that. I want to study. I want to really immerse myself in the temple happenings and all. So is this a desire, or is it a karma, or is it for a higher purpose?
That's subjective. That's why I asked you for what you're doing it. So anything becomes a desire if it is done for a selfish purpose. If it has a higher purpose, as you said, I want to understand the profundity of our culture and what it implies, and it and being in the environment elevates me spiritually.
Elevates. Yes, yes.
If you
So
use
that
it for
is-
that purpose, it's not a desire. Okay.
Okay. Great.
But it can
great.
be. All right. Okay. Well, it always
Yeah,
can
yeah.
be done to say, I've gone to Badrinath, Kedarnath, but I've not gone to XYZ. I must do that. For what? As
Yes.
as you said, bucket list, or
Yes.
is just to so that if that's clear within you, then you are not wrong. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Most welcome. Right.
Yeah.
Yes, Apara Garu.
Guruji, in my day-to-day life, there are certain actions where I'm trying to abandon, I could not, or tyaga, whatever, sacrifice. There are certain actions which I would like to perform, I'm unable to perform. One example is my craving for food, good food, or sweets, I'm unable to. That's one thing. How do I apply this in my simple concept of day-to-day life? And another was to discipline myself, getting up at morning 4 a.m. or 4:30, which was never I'm unable to do it. So here I'm unable to perform an action, and at the same time I'm unable to abandon action. So how do I connect today's lecture, and how do I discipline myself in these two aspects?
Sir, I'll have to take an extreme measure of punishment, which I can't do online. So I'll have to meet you physically, and then I'll teach you there, sir.
So we'll meet at a dinner table.
No, in the army style or navy style, I'll teach you, sir. Not in the philosophical style. Certain things can't be taught this way. Certain things have to be taught this way only. So with that, we'll teach you, sir.
So let me, sir, I would like to physically, come to you and help me to do that. I'm trying. I'm trying a lot. I could not. I'm unable to.
See, it is firstly, are you you are conscious, at least you realize you're conscious of it. As I said, you always, it is between the strength of your existing desire and the strength of your intellect. The fact that you say that you are not able to is because the desire is very powerful, and your intellect or wisdom is not able to keep you away from that. You're not able to withhold the force of desire. So you will have to take a little more measured step. Instead of completely abandoning or say dropping sweets. For example, let's say if you are a person who eats sweets after every meal, let's say after lunch and dinner, invariably you must have a bite of a chocolate or a sweet. If that's what you are used to, every day, twice I end up having. Try and curtail it for, if you're eating 2 sweets, eat 1.5 sweet. Take it a measured step. So you don't, it doesn't, one of the points I said when I said to Oshama is that there shouldn't be any frustration where you find yourself suppressed. Suppression is a sign of overstepping your capacity. That overstrain doesn't do any good to you. There must be a healthy challenge, but yet at the same time where you don't curse yourself now. So that withdrawal has to be gradual. When you withdraw, it must be commensurated with something higher, something better. Now, your other activity you're talking about is not able to get up at 4:30. Try to get up. If you get up at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning every day, I'm not saying you do that. Example, if you say you get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, I would say get up 15, 20 minutes prior to that. Don't aspire, don't try to reach that ultimate goal of 4 a.m. because it's too way beyond your capacity from 7 a.m. to 4 a.m. So if I have to give myself, let's say if I get up at 6:30, at least after doing little freshening up, 20 minutes I'll study, or 20 minutes I'll do little sadhana, which means I will have to sleep 15, 20 minutes early than my usual time. Take that baby steps. It is that initial withdrawal and that initial taste, but please understand, any growth is painful. Any growth, I don't have to tell you this. Physically, if I have to tell you to increase your stamina, it's a torture, it's a pain, isn't it? Exactly the same way, the spiritual growth, when you have to withdraw or fight against the comfort zone of yours, it is going to be painful. Any change is demanding. To adapt to change is demanding. So you must be ready to endure that little discomfort because you're doing for your own growth, but take measured steps. So you will start from 7 o'clock, you will get up at 6:45, at 6:30, at 6:15, 6 o'clock, and then slowly go to a point. And once you start tasting that joy, you will curse yourself when you don't get up. There's nobody cursing you. You feel sick with yourself, man. Come on, how? And you, because you've tasted that world of being in that hour and you've experienced it. The contrast to it, you know how the disparity is too vast for you to accept it. So that will force you to embrace that. But for that, you got to taste what that joy is. But be realistic. All I'm saying is be realistic, sir.
Thank you, Guruji.
So what I'm trying to say that is, when you're eating that one sweet less, you know whom to give that sweet to. That's what I'm saying. You're missing the point. When you're eating that one chocolate less, you know where that other chocolate goes to, whom it goes to.
And spoil the other person.
No, that's it. That other person will deal. That's not your problem. Huh? What are you worrying about it, Vap? I'm trying to help Aparo.
Me.
No, why are you thinking of yourself? What makes you believe it is you?
Because that's the other person sitting next to him is me, right?
I only see him. I don't see you. He sees me. I see him. We both are talking to each other. Huh? So when I say other person, it obviously means who?
I know, Guruji, who it is.
You, as long as you know Aparaguru, I'm fine. I don't know what VAP says.
Yes. Thanks, Guruji. It's really, I will try to put it in practice. Thank you.
I'm certain, sir. We all have gone through that phase where we have struggled through it, but it's just mind over matter. Believe me, if you get your thoughts don't give a choice to the mind. As you have experienced all your life, when you especially do international travel, you have no choice over the timing, and you have to get up at odd hours. You have to go through an odd schedule. You don't need any reminders. You don't need any alarms. You don't need any wake-up call. You don't need the concierge to wake you up when you have to have an early flight in the hotel. You get up automatically because you have given an auto suggestion to the mind so strong, it gets up. The body clock listens to the subtle controls of gross, sir. It's not the gross controlling subtle. So if you have given a certainty of a thought to the mind, your body has to obey. The body will obey. The body is a slave of your mind, and the mind should be the slave of your intellect. And intellect is a product of wisdom. So wisdom influences the intellect, intellect controls the mind, mind directs the body to act. This is how we should get the hierarchy in process. So when the intellect is absent or not able to control, then the body behaves as per the mind's whims and fancies. Whatever the mind feels like doing, we do. I'm being very generic, not particular here, sir. So when that aspect of reinforcement of thought, so at the end of the day, give yourself powerful suggestions. What come may, I will get up. And what come may, I will not indulge in the late hours of watching television or keeping myself occupied unnecessarily, because I need to get up. So everything, like I say, if you have a flight to catch at 6 o'clock in the morning, will you be watching a movie till 1 o'clock in the morning, sir? No way. You know, I need to end my day early so that I'm fresh to plan my travel. As clear are your thoughts, you need to be as clear that I need to prioritize that hour for my own benefit. So I will work backwards. Planning is always backwards, never forwards. So plan that way. Get that clarity in your head. Believe me, effortlessly you'll conquer this challenge of yours. Effortlessly.
I'm able to do it in last 3 days effortlessly, get up at 4 a.m. because of jet lag.
So you have all the answers, sir.
No, I'm sorry, Guruji, it's not that.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I can understand. All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. The Upanishad says, desist from all other talk. We have spoken every other talk other than the Upanishads. UK, what is it? We are violating the very text, what the text is saying. He says, don't talk of anything else but Brahman. And in this mantra, we spoke everything other than Brahman. Enna papam, apacharam. Correct, Pushpama? Pushpama was wondering, what is this fellow going on talking everything other than Brahman? This is the bridge.
Life lesson. This is all life lessons.
Absolutely. No, indeed. Very much. I'm just being, I'm not serious when I say that, but absolutely very much in the context. So the Vimunchata Anya Vak, desist from any other talk. So you discord yourself, detach yourself from any activity that does not remind you of Brahman. Any other talk means anything that doesn't remind you of your goal, you don't do it. This is the bridge of immortality. This here refers to the Om, which refers to the previous mantras, where he says the bow is Om, the arrow is the mind, and when your mind is fixed with the Om to the goal of Brahman, the target, that single pointed thought bridges the gulf between mortality and immortality. Now, this is the culmination he's talking about. Please, it is not possible if you don't take care of your vasanas and desires. The vasanas and desires are addressed through the spiritual path of karma, bhakti, jnanam. When you perform the yogas, the vasanas get uprooted. So only a highly qualified or established sannyasi, talking in the terms what we use in the verse on the mantra, only an established sannyasi can practice meditation. If you are not established in sannyasa, you cannot meditate. This is the bridge. Om is the bridge. So the last thing that goes is the first and the only purpose for which you're born? Gayatri Ma, explain that statement. Don't say repeat the statement. Huh?
Only purpose to attain this Brahman is the goal of our life.
And then?
I was only thinking that that is the goal. What is the, like karma, bhakti, jnana, only I was still thinking what all I should be doing it.
So you get the clarity there, no? Karma, bhakti, jnanam, you are clear there, aren't you?
Yes.
But the statement I said is the primary purpose for which we are born is the last thing that goes.
That is the self-realization, meditation, and culmination.
What is the primary desire of human birth?
To realize the self, but
The primary objective of human birth is to realize the self, right? And what's the last desire that goes?
maybe you drop that desire to attain it also.
The desire for self-realization is the last desire that goes. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
The first desire that you're born with, or the primary desire that a human birth is defined by, the last desire that goes is the very desire to self. So in between is all the dharmas, the various desires that you have, which you have to deal with. So one who has dealt with all the dharmas, I'm using the word dharma because in the Gita, a famous verse, he says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhya moksha ishyami ma shuchaha. So the verse there says, Sarva dharman, all your dharmas means all your vasanas have to be sacrificed for my sake. And if you do so, I give you moksha. So having renounced all your dharmas, one who comes to a point where he has no other interest, there is no interest to run his company, there is no interest in anything, there is no work, there's nothing that interests him. All that is interested in moksha, 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 enlightenment. So there is nothing else for him to think of. Such a person, Om becomes the bridge of immortality, not to you and me. Om is another burden. Yo, I'm thinking of already so many things. Now this guru is saying, think of Om also. Now Om is a burden. Correct? Are you okay? I know what she'll say.
If we understand the concept properly, Guruji. We have not yet reached that stage, I think.
So you will say it's a burden, no? I'm already having so many thoughts. Now you say, please, every second minute, think of Om. Yo, how to stop thinking of that and start thinking of this? Correct?
I will think, but I don't know how to avoid the other thoughts.
So the other thoughts comes and keeps replacing these thoughts. Is it? So when the momentum of that thoughts naturally fade away, that is when this thought takes a precedence, the thought of Om. It's not easy.
It's not easy.
In fact, I don't know how to react when people say they meditate every day for half an hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours. I don't know what to say. That means they must be a very, very highly evolved. And yet they come to me. I know where I stand. How can a highly evolved soul come to me to seek knowledge? I don't understand. It is contrary. It's like I'm going to learn. I'm learning something. Let's say I'm learning English. Oh, is it, sir? Who is your guru? First standard kid. He's a topper in the school. At this age, I'm learning English from the first standard boy. Does it make any sense? If you are able to meditate for 2 hours, I am openly confessing I don't meditate. How can you come to a person who doesn't meditate and your meditation is a very highly evolved state? How can you come to me? That itself proves me who is right, who is wrong. It's a big joke. So I am certain we all will evolve to that state one day where your mind will get lost in meditation. Means your mind will get engrossed in meditation, not lost, engrossed, completely occupied. But till then, we have to do the right things. So don't take these verses out of context and start practicing, because it is meant for a highly evolved spiritual seeker. As we said, a fully established sannyasi. We are all in the realm of Tyaga. We are all need to intensify Tyaga, which is renouncing the anxiety for the fruits of your action. So if you practice that, that itself is withdrawing the preoccupation from the world. Okay. Please mark these, the mantra is not talking of all that. We are just trying to expand and convert the pure philosophy into applied philosophy. That is what we have done. Otherwise, I would have spoken from the standpoint of the mantra. All of us are disqualified. But to bring all of us into the equation, to keep our sadhana in mind, when you translate it in applied philosophy, there are steps that we can practice. All right, so we will come back. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Harihi Om.